Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Kill10Rats. Welcome back to the Age of Decadence. The Gaul has made yet more impact on the town of Teron, and actually has a choice to make, because we have put the Imperial guards in a bit of a bind by having their leader assassinated with a sanction of Lord Antidus. And now the question is, do we want to strengthen Antidus by convincing him to kill the remnants of the guard? Or do we want to... Well, in a sense... Actually, you got that the wrong way around. Do you want to strengthen him by asking the guards to join him? Which would strengthen him against our guild, but also strengthen him as a whole. But if we were to convince him to destroy the remnants of the guard, that would sort of make him easier to control. But essentially, I think I'd prefer to make him take the remainders of the guard on, just because we have sort of thrown in our lot with his house anyway. I just want to quickly change into our more appropriate gear again. Before we do any of that though, because there is sort of a cutoff point at which the game forces you to go to Madan, and wrapping up this whole storyline with Mercato and Antidus and the Imperial Guard is leading to that. So if you do finish that and you still have open business in town, chances are you can't finish it anymore. So just be mindful of that if you play through the game. There's also another thing that I wanted to do, which is down here where the healer is, because there is something quite nifty down there that we should definitely pick up. Or is it? It's somewhere. There's a tower here. Okay, there's the tower. Right. Before we can do that, however, we need to put, I think it's 2 points into no, not trading, crafting. Right, we need to be able to craft a little bit. Actually, we in total need around, I think, 5 points in crafting to be able to unlock all the options that are crafting related, that are important to see most of the content in the game, but we can invest some more points later. For this one, 2 points investment will do. I think maybe even just putting 1 point into it. I think crafting 2 might even be okay, but I'm not gonna risk it. You enter the ruined tower. It was destroyed during the war, twice rebuilt and twice fallen. Instead of blaming hasty craftsmanship and inferior building materials, the spirits of those who died there during the war were held accountable. The tower was said to be cursed and left to squatters and beggars. Several squatters, accustomed to people coming and going, look at you without any interest. The place is practically empty, save for piles of rubble and trash. An unusually large rat is roasted whole over an open fire, filling the tower with a revolting aroma. The squatters don't seem to mind. There's a hatch leading into the tower's cellar. We'll go down. As you descend, a half-dozen rats abandon their dinner, rotting human remains, and disappear inside numerous holes in the walls. Looks like the squatters are breeding the rats and feeding them corpses. The stench is nauseating. One of the squatters follows you into the cellar. If you want a rat, you have to pay. No free shit here, he says firmly. Look around. There isn't much to see. Rats, decaying bodies, gnawed bones, filth and rubble from crumbling walls, and a large drain filled with oily black sludge in the middle of the cellar. We'll examine the drain first. You probe it with a femur bone, but fail to reach the bottom. And the walls? Perception success. Trying to spot anything out of the ordinary in the crumbling brickwork is difficult. After all, what is one loose brick among many? But in the end you find it, a brick that shifts under pressure, but in a way that suggests that the movement was by design, not accident or decay. A switch. You hesitate before pressing it, but fortunately nothing untoward occurs. Unfortunately, nothing happens at all. Take the wall apart. There is no way to figure out the switch's function with this wall in the way, so, unlimbering your tools, you set to work. Soon a pile of rubble is at your feet and sweat runs down your face. But there, exposed to the open for probably the first time in centuries, is a large, rusted cylindrical device. The design is strange, but it looks like some type of pump. You glance back at the drain. If the pump was to keep the cellar from being flooded, why was it hidden? And here's the crafting check to fix it. And we succeed. It's a test of your ingenuity, but after an hour you manage to rig the pump to operate manually via makeshift hand crank. You give it a few test pumps and are rewarded by the faint rumbling of ancient plumbing stirring to life. You grab the crank with both hands and set to work. Progress is painfully slow, but eventually the sludge retreats to a hidden reservoir, revealing a manhole with steps carved into the inner side of the wall. We will head on down. The space is cramped, barely 6 feet deep. At first you can't see anything that justifies the effort, but then you notice that a section of the wall is uneven. Though you don't have much room to maneuver in the manhole, with some effort you manage to pry loose the bricks and reveal a small niche. Inside you find a strange device wrapped in several layers of once oiled cloth. A crystal semisphere encased in a metal dome. Thin metal rods of varying lengths protrude from the bottom, reminding you of a jellyfish. The crystal, despite its centuries buried under brick and stagnant water, glows with a soft blue light. You don't remember anything like it in any of the scrolls you've read or stories you've heard. The blue glow is obviously magical, but its purpose is unknown to you. You check the relic for potential magic leaking. More than one lore master has been poisoned to death by the magic of a broken artifact, but it's still intact. Take it and leave. And of course, there are some people who object to us just hauling crap out of here. But with enough Streetwise, you can actually have a pretty hilarious turn of events here, so we'll do that. Wait, where are you going with it? How do you know it's not mine? Demands the squatter. If you want it, you have to pay. Say 20 coins. I'll even throw in a couple of rats for free. What do you say? The conversation attracts the rest of the squatters. It suddenly occurs to you that you can easily become another meal for the rats. And Streetwise, don't you see? It's the curse of the tower. To touch it is to die. Stop waving this thing at my face then and go. Maybe I should leave it here. Disturbing a curse can bring on all kinds of misfortunes. I feel weaker already. No, you have to take this thing and go. Look, we'll give you some money. Here, 20 Imperials, just go, okay? Take the money and leave. So yeah, we fleeced the squatters. How unfortunate for them. Yeah, that was quite nice, and we can have a look at the artifact. There's the crystal semisphere encased in a metal dome, and with the various lengths, so it's some sort of, some sort of ancient device that maybe Fung knows something about. I have not actually, I think, tried asking him this, so I may just do this. Maybe we can actually find something out through him. I think Cassius has some dialogue. I think he told me something about in the last playthrough that I made. Ah, yeah. Ah, my friend, what can I do for you today? What do you think this is? Show him the jellyfish artifact. Feng studies the artifact for a while, then shrugs and passes it back to you. My best guess, for all the good it'll do you, is that it's a part of a larger mechanism. The Magi had hundreds, if not thousands, of strange devices. We know little of them, but perhaps it's for the best. Well, it does come into play at some later stage in the game. I think there is a use for it in... I'm not even sure what you're gonna call it, like one of the game's dungeons? I'm not entirely sure. I've never actually been that far into the game. I just read a little bit about it, more by accident than by design. One thing I also want to do is... well... we still have Amolus's gold. And no matter what we do, like if we punt everything into Streetwise, it's not gonna help. We're gonna need Impersonate, I think, as well as Streetwise, and I don't want to waste points on Impersonate. So for everything we can do with the character, this is something we can't really resolve. But I don't want to just leave it unaddressed, so I'm going to show you the outcome. If you do it the sort of save your own ass way. Amolas' village greets you with stripped down buildings and abandoned fields. Only a handful of buildings remain, all of them occupied by rough-looking men who don't look like any villagers that you've seen. You count a dozen men aimlessly wandering around the village. They seem to be waiting for something or someone. Could it be you? Now, this is sort of the charge approach. If you're a stealthy, sneaky character, you can try that. I actually would like to, at some point, try out an assassin and see if that can work out, or maybe even a thief. This is more like for your ranged, focused character. And of course, here is our option. This calls for a parley. And this usually goes about as well as when this word is used in Pirates of the Caribbean, because, you know, it's more like guidelines in any case. You enter the village. After a brief exchange, you're escorted to see the raiders' leader, a tall, wiry man with a rugged face and eyes permanently narrowed from years of squinting into the desert sun. There's an ugly scar on his throat, as if someone slashed it but didn't put enough effort into it. Did Amolas send you, he asks, already appearing tired of having this conversation with you. And here we can tell him that Esbenes sent us to collect the money Ebola, what the hell? Amolas owes him. I think I always went straight for the skill check now that I think of it. But if memory serves, both of these lead to the same outcome where you have to make a check and it doesn't work out. So we're gonna pretend Esbenes sent us and he's not gonna fall for it. And then, what if I do have a problem with it? Asks the raider, his voice dangerously quiet. Yo, I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot me. The way I see it, Amolas' money wasn't his to give, says the raider, calming down. If Esbenes has a different opinion on the matter, he's welcome to come here and discuss it with me. Now, where did you say Amolas stashed my money? Tell him where the stash is. See, that wasn't very difficult, was it? Asks the raider, examining the leather bag. A bit light, but I'm a strong believer that something's always better than nothing. Now, take me to Amolas. Gods know I waited long enough for this meeting. And that's pretty much our only option here. So we take the raiders to town and into town. You take the raiders' leader and 2 men he's chosen for this mission to Teron. Near the gates, the raider puts his hand on your shoulder, the other hand poking your ribs with a dagger. The raiders pay the entrance levies, joke with the guards, and enter the town without raising any suspicions. You take them to Amolas' house. Amolas, says the raider, grinning maliciously. Aren't you a sight for sore eyes? Mikos, says Amolas, stepping back. Surprised? Thought you got rid of me for good, didn't you? To tell you the truth, so did I. How the fuck did you make it through the desert with a bolt in your chest? You know what's funny though? It's your greed that killed you. I would have never thought to look for you in Teron, but you wanted your money, the money you stole from me, and so you let me right to you. Help me, says Amolas, his eyes locked on the raider, but he's talking to you now, pleading for his life. So we can side with Amolas, who isn't that much of a nice guy after all, or we can just walk away. And since siding with Amolas means that usually 2, if not all of the raiders first gang up on us and cut us down within 1 combat round, I think we're just gonna walk away. And that's that. There's probably options if you have a different build where you can resolve this by duping them, or, you know, creating a different scenario where you can, I don't know, assassinate someone or snipe them or sneak up and resolve it that way. But for us, nope. Not today. But hey, we survived, Amolas didn't, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy apparently, so it doesn't really matter. I think we're gonna head for the barracks now to talk to Mercato, or Mercado, however you feel like pronouncing it. More the Latin fashion, or more the anglicized one, I figure. You see a dozen of the survivors of the night raid. Mercato, wearing commander insignia, appears to be in charge. He's giving a passionate speech to the soldiers, promising to rebuild the fort and emerge more powerful than ever. Mercato even manages to shed a few tears for Carinas, proclaiming him a murderer, and assuring the crowd that he would work day and night to fulfill Carinas' dreams. Quite a performance. I think I forgot to spend some skill points in the right place. This might actually not work. You wait until the speech is over and approach Mercato. Mercato watches you approaching with an always happy to see a friend, but let's not make it a habit expression. An excellent speech, Commander. I couldn't help but notice that you've adjusted to the new situation with an alarming speed. Mercato shrugs. Soldiers die. It's unfortunate that they died sooner rather than later, but why fuss over such insignificant details? He brushes invisible dust off his new insignia. Well, I'd like to stay in chat, but as you've probably heard, I have to rebuild and emerge. About that, I'm afraid my guild might have a problem with all that rebuilding and emerging. Tell them to file a petition. The same kind of petition I sent Carinas? And who'd send it? The Assassin's Guild has quite literally gone up in flames, so as much as I'd like to take your threats seriously, I can't. Now, if you'll excuse me... You don't think they would actually let you stay in charge, do you? Why wouldn't they? I'm the only, and thus the best choice at the moment. Hard to lose with these odds, eh? He laughs. Persuasion plus Streetwise should do it. Because that's pretty much the strongest skill set we have. That might actually be enough. What's the other option? Do you really think that after we've made your commander you can turn your back on us? No, Mercato. Yeah, that's not gonna work on him. He does not really have any sense of obligation to anyone but himself. And we don't have any trading, so... I expect you to be able to add 2 and 2 together. Teron is too important, especially after this fiasco. Is it so hard for you to believe that Kator would want their best men to oversee the rebuilding and to demonstrate the guard's strength? Maybe. Maybe not. I think that let's wait and see is a very sensible attitude to adopt under the circumstances. Suit yourself, but keep in mind that when your replacement arrives, you will no longer be in a position to offer us anything. Not to mention that Kator will need someone to blame. You know how these things work. So it'll probably end up being nailed to a tree, and when I walk past your rotten corpse, I'll think, here hangs Mercato, an indecisive man who could have had everything. That's some really nice writing, I have to say. I didn't say that thus far, I believe, or not enough, not nearly enough, because there is some really nice writing in this game, and also some really nice consequences for your action setups. Is really what's making up one of the strengths of this game. So yeah, we'll put the squeeze on a little. You won the goal. What do you want me to do? I want you to join House Daratan. That's where all the opportunities are. Your kind of odds. Why the hell not? Mercato shrugs and reaches for the wine. Leave and go see Antidas. So yeah, we have told Mercato to join Antidas, and thus we prevent the Imperial Guard from rebuilding and strengthen Daratan. And considering that we've pretty much set up the Merchants Guild to control Daratan via money, it also strengthens the Merchants Guild. Especially since Antidas is so naive. I think it's the best choice politically as well. Rather than just wasting a resource, which is something merchants should really not ever be doing. You're standing in front of the Daratan compound, and we've read this before, so we talk to Delar, and we ask to be taken to Antidas. I owe you my gratitude, the Gaul. You've helped me to get rid of a snake in my own backyard. I won't forget it. I have convinced the remaining guards to join your house. Excellent news. I owe you a lot more than my thanks then. He removes a dagger from his belt and gives it to you. It's tempered steel, the work of famous Al-Dashir. The edge is exceptional. I wonder what it really is. Maybe he's got it from Fung and some sort of old letter opener or something. Thank you, my lord. Leave and go see Linus. Report. I've convinced Mercato to take his men to Antidas. Good call, that's what I would have done. Linus seems very pleased with your performance. I have a small gift for you. He hands you a heavy scroll. The first 2 chapters of the Art of Deceptive Arguments. You've heard about the sophists, I assume. I think you'd find it very, very useful. And it increases our speech skills. Among others, our trading up to 3, I think, so... You know, might be useful in the future. Gives us some nice discounts as well. My gratitude, Linus. Don't thank me just yet. Strabos has requested you by name. You're going to Madan. Strabos? He runs our operations in Madan. A word of advice. Strabos wants power and no price is too high. Especially if someone else ends up paying it. Don't get me wrong, we've always manipulated the playing field to create favorable conditions for our guild. And eliminate the competition. But Strabos wants to wrestle power from Lord Galius himself. It's a very dangerous game. Go to Madan, talk to Strabos, and then decide. Leave for Madan. Taking the demise of the Imperial guards at the hands of the boatmen as a good omen, Lord Antidus steps up the recruitment efforts of House Daratan. Pardons are granted to bandits and raiders willing to serve the house, and mercenaries are hired en masse with the Commercium's gold. Without the Imperial guards to keep the newly arrived fighting men in check, the town quickly descends into near lawlessness, becoming little more than a camped mercenary army waiting for the order to march. Though Antidus seems to hold the reins of the Sellsword Legion, it is the Commercium who pays their wages, and the only loyalty a mercenary truly recognizes is to the one who pays him. So that worked out. By becoming the paymaster for the entire legion, the Commercium effectively becomes Antidus' shadow partner, greatly expanding their influence and control over local trade. Backed by that legion, the Commercium's influence grows rapidly alongside their control over local trade. Bored and seeking entertainment, the camped mercenaries spend their coins at the Commercium's establishment almost as quickly as they earn them, making it a very profitable enterprise indeed. Emboldened by their success in Teron, the lords of Commercium set their sights on Madan. Lord Galius can't be controlled, ergo he must be replaced by someone more suitable. What the city needs is someone who will show proper respect to the guildmasters, and perhaps even listen to an occasional piece of advice or two. Serenas, Lord Galius' nephew, is a perfect candidate. He has the blood claim, he's young, weak, and already owes a fortune to the Commercium. Still, replacing the most powerful man in the realm isn't an easy task and must be handled very delicately. Temporary alliances, disavowed the moment the goal is achieved, must be made. Assurances must be given. Most importantly, Lord Galius and the Imperial guards must be distracted and look the other way while the magic happens. And here's the auto-resolving screens, or rather the consequences for the action screens in the previous goings-on. You managed to get rid of Cassius, which secured Fung's position at Lord Antidus' personal loremaster. While his home and artifacts would fail to pass the scrutiny of a true loremaster, the trinkets inspire Lord Antidus with a sense of infallibility. So yeah, he's basically conning and, you know, stringing the gullible lord along, who sort of has this sense of my destiny, and who even bought that ring from us in exchange for a proper gold ring. When the news of the accident reaches Madan, House Daratan expresses their regret at the senseless loss of lives and cautions House Aurelian against toying with forces beyond their understanding, especially that close to Teron. The note does little to quell the growing rumors that the Aurelians had found dangerous magics there, but had to seal the mine to prevent the magics from falling into the wrong hands. It isn't long before unscrupulous prospectors move into the abandoned camp and start digging in. So now the mine that we blew up, or forced the explosion on, is occupied again. And we are going to Madan, which is pretty much the biggest city in the world, or in the known world there. So lots and lots for us to do, lots of strings to pull. So far we have quite handily avoided combat, and as you can see, the game makes that a completely viable strategy, at least up until now, and walking away from a fight is pretty viable. After a few weeks of travel, Madan's marble minarets and sandstone domes finally appear out of the shimmering desert. Once the jewel of the Empire, it is now a city of crumbling ruins and forgotten glory. The rivers that fed it dry, its once fertile field now barren rock and endless drifting sand. The Great War devastated Madan. Almost a quarter of its citizens died in the arcane blast that created the infamous Abyss. The sickness that followed it nearly succeeded in wiping out the rest. But cities rarely die with dignity. Men return to Madan, scavengers seeking to loot the treasures of the past, oblivious to the weight of history around them as they squabbled over food and gold. And the Abyss is actually a place you can visit if you're feeling particularly suicidal. It's not to say that it's impossible to do, But with a character built like we are, it's gonna be a challenge. Maybe we're gonna try it, maybe not, but for the moment we'll definitely just try to find our feet. And yeah, as you can see, we got some trading, we got some etiquette from that scroll that Linos gave us. And our reputation with the Commercium and with Daratan is pretty good. Of course, now the city, or rather the town of Teron, is a bit of a mess of basically just mercenaries waiting to explode. But, you know, we profited. We've got exactly the number of the beast of gold in our pockets, so quite a few Imperials. We've got this thing here, the honor dagger made of steel, and steel is pretty good, so that's definitely a nice catch there. And we've actually got a fairly decent armor, but since we're posing as a sort of a lore master, we'll just keep on what we have. I'll leave it for now. We'll explore the city of Madan next time, see what havoc we can wreak. Thank you very much for watching, and until then, bye for now.